My boss is secretly sabotaging my career. Should I expose them? Hey, everyone, I could use some serious advice here. So, a bit of backstory. I'm James, 32, and I've been working at this tech company for almost 5 years now. I started out as a junior developer, but after some hard work and long hours, I got promoted to a team lead position about a year ago. Things were going great until recently when I started noticing some really weird stuff happening. My boss, Mark, is this older guy, mid-50s, who's been around forever. He's always been pretty aloof, but seemed fair enough. The trouble began about 2 months ago. I started getting these cryptic emails about missing deadlines I never got notifications for, and some of my project files would randomly disappear or get corrupted. At first, I thought it was just bad luck or maybe a system glitch, but then things got weirder. One day I was working late, and I saw Mark snooping around my desk area. It was so out of character for him, and it gave me the chills. I tried to brush it off, but the incidents kept piling up. Missed meetings, incorrect reports, everything started to go wrong. It was as if someone was intentionally trying to derail my career. I'm feeling pretty stressed and confused about what to do next. I have this gut feeling that Mark might be behind it all, but I don't have solid proof yet. I need to figure out if I should confront him directly, gather more evidence, or just start looking for a new job. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Last week, I decided to stay late again to catch up on some work. My office is usually pretty quiet after hours, so I was surprised when I heard voices coming from the break room. I went to check it out and saw Mark chatting with Sarah, one of the junior developers on my team. They were talking in hushed tones, and I couldn't hear much, but I did catch a few words that made my stomach drop. Sarah mentioned something about making sure the files stay messed up and keeping James off balance. At that moment, everything clicked into place. All the random glitches and mistakes suddenly made sense. I had thought the system was faulty, or maybe I was just being careless, but now it seemed clear that someone was actively trying to sabotage my work. I was about to confront them right then and there, but I decided to keep my cool and sneak back to my desk. I waited until Mark and Sarah left, then I took a look at my computer. Sure enough, some of the files were corrupted again. It was like a bad joke. I knew I needed concrete evidence if I was going to make any moves, so I started documenting everything meticulously. I recorded timestamps, took screenshots, and kept notes on every issue I encountered. It was exhausting, but I was determined to get to the bottom of this. I'm torn between my growing anger and fear about what this means for my career. I want to confront Mark, but I'm afraid of what kind of retaliation I might face if I'm wrong, or if he turns this around on me. Any thoughts on how I should proceed? After gathering all the evidence I could, I decided it was time to address the issue head-on. I scheduled a one-on-one with Mark under the pretense of discussing my recent performance. I was nervous, but tried to stay calm and collected. When we sat down, I started by discussing the work issues I'd been facing and how they seemed to be escalating. Mark listened, but his demeanor was off. He was fidgety and avoiding eye contact. I then decided to drop the bombshell. I showed him the screenshots and documentation I'd been keeping, including the emails and corrupted files. Mark's reaction was immediate and defensive. He tried to brush it off as technical difficulties and claimed I must be misinterpreting the data. But as I pressed further, he started to get more agitated. He said I was being paranoid and that maybe I wasn't cut out for the pressure of the role. He even implied that I was making excuses for my performance issues. It was like a slap in the face. I had expected some resistance, but his denial and the way he tried to shift the blame onto me was infuriating. I could see the frustration in his eyes, and it felt like he was trying to gaslight me. I left the meeting feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. It was clear that Mark wasn't going to admit to anything. I'm now left with the decision of whether to escalate this to HR or start looking for a new job. I don't want to be seen as someone who can't handle conflict, but I also don't want to be stuck in a toxic environment. I've been processing everything that's happened, and I have to admit, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. I thought I'd share how I'm feeling and maybe get some perspective from you all. The confrontation with Mark was a major emotional blow. I was already stressed and anxious, but his blatant denial and attempts to turn the situation on me left me feeling utterly defeated. It's like he took everything I was worried about and used it against me. I was already struggling with the work issues, and his reaction just compounded my anxiety and frustration. I find myself constantly second-guessing my own abilities now. Am I really failing in my role, or is this all part of the sabotage? The self-doubt is eating away at me. It's hard to focus on my work when I feel like everything I do is under a microscope. Every little mistake now feels like proof of Mark's accusations, and I'm constantly on edge. I'm also dealing with a lot of anger. I'm angry at Mark for creating this hostile environment and for making me feel like I'm going crazy. I'm angry at Sarah, too, for being complicit in this mess. And most of all, I'm angry at myself for not figuring this out sooner or confronting it more aggressively. There are moments when I'm tempted to just walk away and start fresh somewhere else. But then I worry about the impact on my career and whether I'll just be running away from the problem. I'm torn between seeking justice and protecting my own mental health. After much deliberation and weighing my options, I decided to escalate the issue to HR. I knew it was a risk, but I felt it was the only way to address the sabotage professionally and try to get some resolution. I put together a comprehensive report with all the evidence I had collected, including emails, screenshots, and detailed notes on the incidents. The meeting with HR was nerve-wracking. I presented my case calmly, sticking to the facts and letting the evidence speak for itself. The HR manager, Lisa, was initially skeptical, but she seemed to take my concerns seriously once she reviewed the documentation. She assured me that the company had procedures in place to handle such allegations and that they would conduct a thorough investigation. While waiting for HR to complete their investigation, I decided to focus on my own well-being. I started seeing a counselor to help manage my stress and anxiety. It's been helpful to have someone to talk to who can offer perspective and coping strategies. I also began updating my resume and started looking for new opportunities just in case things didn't go as planned with HR. It felt empowering to take control of my career, even if it meant preparing for the worst. The waiting game is tough, and there's a lot of uncertainty about what the outcome will be. But I'm trying to stay positive and hopeful. I'm proud of myself for standing up for my rights and not letting fear dictate my actions. A few days ago, I received an email from Lisa in HR asking me to come in for a follow-up meeting. I was already on edge, but what happened next was completely unexpected. Lisa informed me that Mark had accused me of fabricating evidence and trying to manipulate the situation to get him fired. She said that Mark had presented his own version of events, claiming that my performance issues were due to personal incompetence rather than sabotage. I was stunned. It felt like a brutal twist in an already stressful situation. Lisa assured me that the investigation would continue, but Mark's counteraccusation complicated matters. It seemed like he was trying to turn the tables and make me look like the problem employee. The emotional toll of this new development has been intense. I've been dealing with a lot of self-doubt and anxiety, wondering if Mark's accusations might stick or if the HR team would believe him over me. The fear of being painted as a liar or manipulator is terrifying. It's like I'm in a bad dream where every step forward feels like 2 steps back. To make matters worse, some of my colleagues have started to act differently around me. It's subtle, but there's a noticeable shift in how they interact with me, like they've been influenced by Mark's claims. It's disheartening to feel isolated and unsupported when I need it the most. I'm trying to stay focused on the facts and maintain my professionalism, but it's hard not to feel demoralized. One of the first things I did after the new accusations was to reach out to trusted colleagues for support. I didn't go into the full details of the HR investigation, but I let them know that I was dealing with some difficult issues at work and could use their understanding. Thankfully, a few of them were supportive and offered to vouch for my character and work ethic if needed. I also decided to consult with a labor attorney to get some legal advice. It was a bit of an expense, but I felt it was worth it to understand my rights and options in this situation. The attorney reviewed my evidence and advised me to keep documenting everything and to ensure that any interactions with Mark or HR are well documented. They also suggested that I prepare for the possibility of legal action if things don't go well. In addition to these steps, I've been trying to maintain my performance at work, despite the sabotage. It's exhausting, but I'm determined to show that I'm still committed to my role and capable of doing a good job. I've been focusing on completing my projects and meeting deadlines as best as I can, despite the obstacles. To cope with the stress, I've also started a new routine of regular exercise and meditation. It's been helpful to have some time each day to clear my mind and manage my anxiety. I'm trying to stay positive and remind myself that I'm doing everything I can to handle the situation professionally. I'm still feeling a lot of uncertainty, but I'm hopeful that these efforts will pay off. If anyone has faced a similar situation or has advice on how to stay resilient and focused, I'd love to hear it. Lisa from HR called me in for another meeting this week. She informed me that they had completed their preliminary review and were now in the process of interviewing various team members, including Mark and Sarah. The investigation seemed to be progressing, but Lisa mentioned that it was taking longer than expected due to the complexity of the situation. During the meeting, Lisa reassured me that my evidence was being taken seriously and that they were trying to verify all the claims from both sides. She emphasized that they were committed to a fair process and that they appreciated my patience. However, the update came with its own set of challenges. Lisa also informed me that, due to the ongoing investigation, they would be temporarily reassigning me to a different team to avoid any further conflict with Mark. While this might seem like a relief, it also came with its own set of issues. The new team is handling a high-pressure project with tight deadlines, and the transition has been tough. I'm feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. On one hand, it's a break from the direct conflict with Mark, but on the other hand, the added pressure and unfamiliar environment are stressing me out. I'm trying to adjust to the new team dynamics and stay focused on my work, but it's been challenging. To add to the stress, Mark has been making subtle but pointed remarks in meetings that seem directed at me. It feels like he's trying to undermine my confidence in front of the new team. It's infuriating and demoralizing, but I'm doing my best to stay professional and not let it affect my work. I'm hanging in there and hoping that the HR investigation will bring some clarity. If anyone has dealt with a similar reassignment or has advice on managing work while dealing with a hostile situation, I'd really appreciate it. One of the senior developers, Rachel, who has always been fairly reserved, reached out to me privately. She had heard about the investigation and knew a bit about the situation from other colleagues. Rachel told me that she had observed some of the issues I mentioned, particularly with Mark's behavior. She offered to provide a witness statement about what she had seen and experienced, which was incredibly reassuring. Rachel also mentioned that she had her own suspicions about some of Mark's actions, but hadn't realized the full extent until recently. It was comforting to know that I wasn't alone in my concerns, and that someone with more experience was willing to back me up. Additionally, Rachel offered to help me navigate the new team's dynamics. She gave me some tips on how to manage the pressure and adjust to the new environment. It's been helpful to have her guidance and support, especially since she's familiar with the project I'm now working on. Having this support has made a significant difference in my morale. It's easier to face the challenges when you know you have allies. I'm still stressed and anxious about the ongoing investigation and Mark's behavior, but Rachel's support has reminded me that not everyone in the company is against me. I'm continuing to work hard and stay focused on proving my capabilities despite the difficulties. If anyone has ever received unexpected support during a tough time, I'd love to hear how it impacted your situation. The HR investigation is still ongoing, but the situation has become even more complicated. As if the stress of the new team wasn't enough, Mark has escalated his tactics. He's started spreading rumors about me, subtly suggesting to other colleagues that I'm not handling the new project well and that I'm struggling with my performance. It's been frustrating to see how Mark's actions are affecting my reputation among my new teammates. I've been working hard to prove myself, but it feels like Mark's whispers are undermining my efforts. I've even overheard some colleagues discussing my performance in less than flattering terms, and it's clear that Mark's influence is at play. On top of that, the pressure of the new project has been mounting. The deadlines are tight, and the workload is heavier than anticipated. I'm doing my best to stay on top of everything, but the added stress of dealing with Mark's behavior and the ongoing investigation is taking a toll on my mental health. I've been trying to keep my head down and focus on delivering high-quality work, but the constant undermining is wearing me down. It's hard not to feel demoralized when you know someone is actively working against you. Despite all this, I'm still determined to see the HR investigation through and prove that I'm not the problem here. I'm keeping a detailed record of everything that's happening and making sure to document any interactions with Mark that seem questionable. Lisa from HR called me in for a meeting yesterday. She started by acknowledging how stressful this whole process must be, which was a small but appreciated gesture. She informed me that the investigation had uncovered some concerning patterns regarding Mark's behavior. While they hadn't reached a final conclusion yet, there were indications that he had been acting inappropriately. One key finding was that there were discrepancies in the project files and deadlines, which seemed to align with some of the issues I had reported. They had also interviewed several colleagues, and it appeared that my concerns about Mark's behavior were corroborated by multiple sources. However, Lisa made it clear that they were still gathering information and needed to conduct more interviews before making any definitive decisions. She assured me that they were committed to a fair process and that my evidence had been crucial in highlighting the problem. While this update was somewhat reassuring, it also came with its own set of challenges. Mark is aware that HR is investigating him, and he's become even more hostile. He's started making passive-aggressive comments in meetings and has been giving me a harder time on project tasks. It's clear he's trying to make me look bad, and it's taking a toll on my morale. I'm trying to stay focused on my work and not let Mark's behavior get to me, but it's tough. The uncertainty of the investigation and the ongoing hostility are wearing me out. After the recent HR meeting, I decided to take a proactive approach and try to make the best of the situation. I reached out to Rachel, who had previously offered her support, and asked if she could help me with some of the ongoing issues with the new project. She agreed, and we spent some time reviewing my tasks and strategizing ways to tackle the challenges more effectively. Rachel's support has been a game changer. She's not only helped me streamline my workload, but also provided me with a different perspective on how to manage the project more efficiently. Her insights have been invaluable, and I've noticed a positive shift in my performance. It feels good to finally have a bit of control over the situation and to see some progress in my work. In addition to Rachel's support, I've been receiving encouraging feedback from some of the other team members. A few colleagues have come to me privately to express their sympathy for the situation and to offer their support. It's been uplifting to know that not everyone is influenced by Mark's attempts to undermine me. Moreover, the HR investigation seems to be moving in the right direction. Lisa mentioned that they were getting close to finalizing their findings and that they were taking Mark's behavior very seriously. Although I'm still anxious about the final outcome, the progress in the investigation and the positive feedback from my colleagues have given me a glimmer of hope. I'm trying to stay focused and optimistic despite the lingering uncertainty. If anyone has experienced a turnaround or positive shift in a similar situation, I'd love to hear your stories and any advice on how to keep pushing forward when things start to look up. The HR investigation has reached its final stages, and Lisa called me in for one last meeting to go over the conclusions. She informed me that they had found substantial evidence supporting my claims about Mark's sabotage. The investigation revealed that Mark had indeed been involved in undermining my work and manipulating project files to create issues. The final confrontation with Mark was intense. Lisa and another HR representative were present when I confronted him with the investigation's findings. Mark's reaction was a mix of denial and defensiveness. He tried to downplay his actions and shift the blame onto me, claiming I was exaggerating and misinterpreting the evidence. Despite his attempts to deflect, the HR team made it clear that they had substantial proof of his misconduct. Mark was given a formal reprimand and was informed that further incidents would lead to more severe consequences. Lisa assured me that they would be closely monitoring the situation moving forward. Emotionally, it was a mixed bag. On one hand, it was relieving to have the truth acknowledged and to see some justice for the stress and challenges I've faced. On the other hand, it was exhausting to go through the confrontation and see how Mark continued to avoid responsibility. I'm still adjusting to the aftermath of the investigation. The work environment is somewhat better now that the HR team has taken action, but there's still a lingering sense of tension. I'm focusing on rebuilding my reputation and continuing to perform well in my role. The immediate fallout from the confrontation with Mark has been a mix of relief and cautious optimism. Since the HR intervention, the atmosphere at work has improved. Mark seems to be keeping a lower profile, and there's less tension among the team. It's clear that his influence has waned, which has been a huge relief. I've been focusing on rebuilding my professional relationships and my own confidence. I've made a conscious effort to engage more with my colleagues and to show them that I'm fully committed to my role and the team's success. I've had some positive interactions and feedback from teammates, which has helped to rebuild my reputation. To manage my stress and maintain a positive outlook, I've been continuing with my routine of exercise and meditation. It's been instrumental in keeping my mental health in check and helping me stay focused. I've also sought out opportunities for professional development and growth, using this period of relative calm to advance my skills and knowledge. I've realized that the situation, while incredibly challenging, has taught me a lot about resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. It's made me more aware of the dynamics in the workplace and the need for a supportive network. I'm still vigilant and aware that things could shift again, but for now, I'm hopeful that the worst is behind me. I'm looking forward to moving on from this and continuing to build a positive career path. Looking back, it's been a challenging and emotional journey, but I've come out of it with some important lessons. The HR investigation and the subsequent actions taken against Mark were difficult, but they were necessary to address the issues I faced. I've learned a lot about perseverance and the importance of documenting everything meticulously. One of the biggest takeaways for me has been the value of having a support network. Rachel's unexpected support and the backing of a few colleagues made a huge difference in managing the stress and navigating the situation. Building strong relationships at work and having allies can be incredibly beneficial when facing challenges. Another important lesson is the significance of maintaining professionalism and focusing on your work, even when things get tough. Despite the sabotage and hostility, I made sure to keep my performance up and stay committed to my role. It's a reminder that your work ethic and integrity are crucial, especially in challenging environments. If I could offer advice to anyone facing a similar situation, it would be this. Document everything. Keep a detailed record of any issues or incidents. It's vital for building a strong case if you need to escalate the situation. Seek support. Don't hesitate to reach out to trusted colleagues, mentors, or even legal professionals if needed. Having support can provide a significant boost. Stay professional. Keep your focus on your work and maintain your professionalism, even when dealing with difficult people. Take care of yourself. Stress and anxiety can take a toll on your mental health. Make sure to prioritize self-care and find healthy ways to manage stress. Overall, while the experience was tough, it's given me a greater understanding of workplace dynamics and the importance of standing up for oneself. I'm hopeful for a positive future and excited to continue growing in my career. Thank you all for your support and advice throughout this journey. If you have any final thoughts or questions, feel free to share.